How's it been being disabled at Cambridge? Has it been accessible?
Yeah, so that was something that I felt like I missed out on a little bit. The problems in the psychology faculty, from my perspective, is I'd say the worst experience I had.
Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of Spilling the University. Well, basically, it's a video podcast series in which I just talk about life at Cambridge. And today I've got a very special guest, a Cambridge graduate coming back. Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you?
Very deep question. My name is Mia. I've graduated. I survived 3 years at Cambridge doing PBS, so that's the psychology, law, sociology, tripos.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what does PBS stand for?
Psychological and behavioural sciences.
Wow.
Too long to say, so we shorten it.
As we often do in Cambridge, like when you hear people say like huspus, you're like, what does this mean?
Or Natski.
Yeah.
People say weird things here. That's true.
It is true. But most importantly, beyond your credentials as the whole Cambridge graduate, she's a darling friend of mine. So today we're here to talk about life at Cambridge. How's it been being disabled at Cambridge? Has it been accessible? What's your experience? So do you want to talk me through what your disability is to start off with?
Yeah, that's kind of important to this video.
Yeah.
So I have a physical disability called spinal muscular atrophy. I have type 3, which means that I stopped walking when I was about 12. I've used this lovely electric wheelchair since then. So almost for about 10 years probably. And yes, so it means that I use this to get around. I also have to have a little bit more support, just like with living in college and stuff like that. Force people to put up a lot of ramps over the years. But yeah, in a nutshell, physical mobility, disability kind of vibe.
Awesome. And so how did this inform your choice of college? How did you choose Johns? Did you choose Johns?
I did choose Johns.
Okay. And how did you start the selection process? Because like personally, I just made a big spreadsheet of them all, and I was like, okay, let's look. I want a rich college. Okay, I'm just going to be real with you guys. I was like, I want a college that's going to be able to support me financially. I wanted a college that was quite social, and I just made a list of all of these things, and I thought, okay, which one is the best for me? And I whittled it down to 3. Did you do the same thing? How did you decide?
I feel like I did not go to as much effort as you. I was a bit lazy. What I did was I originally thought modern college is going to be more wheelchair accessible because old buildings and cobbles scared me a little bit. So I looked at Churchill, I looked at Homerton, I looked at Fitzwilliam, and I also looked at a few other colleges in town too, but the ones that I gave more consideration to were the more modern ones. And then I spoke to somebody who, I think they were a disabled student rep for the uni at the time, and they said, look at Johns. Johns is really good for access in lots of ways because, as you said, if we're being honest, they've got a bit of money, so they have to put that money to good use in certain ways. So the accommodation was really good. That doesn't mean that it's all straightforward. There are still issues with inaccessibility given like the old building, but overall I applied here for access, which always surprises people because it's not necessarily what you think.
I think, especially to clarify what I meant about money, is I think one thing I love about Johns is that it does feel like they use the money that they have like as an investment for the students. And I mean, I've spoken previously in videos about, for example, I've got travel grants, or they have lots of funds, like lots of very specific funds.
Bursaries.
Yeah, for loads of different things. So I'm glad that you also felt that they weren't just being so stingy with all their money, that they were actually using it for good things.
Yeah, I did feel that.
That's really interesting. And did you feel that, like, in collegiate life, there was a lot of things that were accessible to you? Did you feel like there was some stuff that you couldn't take part in because of your disability?
Yes. So I started uni in the COVID year. So it was a bit of a different vibe.
Ouch.
So I also survived that.
Yeah.
But that meant that like freshers was all a bit weird and a bit different anyway. But something that I had to adjust to at first was, yes, my room was really accessible, but lots of my friends' rooms I couldn't go to. It's like poor Andrew got dragged round to mine quite a lot. But yeah, so that was something that I felt like I missed out on a little bit. But I mean, when you have good friends, then you just pick different places to go to, and you can get over it. But yeah, I think, well, formal halls, all those fancy dinners, that's accessible if you reach out in advance. And like ents and like parties and stuff, as long as they're in slightly more communal spaces or like ground floor places, then they can be more accessible too. So there is a way to work around it. I think you just when you have a disability of any kind, and I know that it can be the case with all kinds of things, but you just have to get a little bit thick-skinned with certain things and prioritise what's important to you that you're going to actually invest the time in to like look into access-wise. But yeah, in general, pretty good.
It makes me very happy hearing you speak about this, because you would never let anything stop you. Like, for context, people that are watching, we'll get onto this in a second, but we met at a party. So, yeah, no, I'm just very happy that, like, it makes me proud when I hear you speak about these things, because it's like, you didn't let anything stop you. So good for you, girl.
Thank you.
And did you find Cambridge, like, firstly as a city and as a university to be accessible? So maybe not so much college-wise, maybe subject-wise, like going into faculty, doing supervisions. Did you feel that people made appropriate arrangements for your disability?
So much I could say.
Spill the tea, girl.
I'm just going to talk. And as you can tell, I can talk. And if I go off on a tangent, tell me off and
I'm all here
get
for
back
it.
onto route. So, subject-wise, so because I did PBS, I was being taught in a few different faculties, a few different departments. My main one was the psychology department. I can get in the building. There's like a ramp access round the back, which was good, and like automatic doors, which was great. So then when I needed to go to the psychology lecture theatre on the ground floor, like that was all fine. I didn't need to ask someone to come and grab a door for me or anything like that. The problems in the psychology faculty, from my perspective, is then when you try and go off the ground floor, because the building's so old that they had to have quite a small lift. So I have an electric wheelchair, so it's a bit bigger than like your standard manual. Comes with lights and stuff, so it's worth it. But I had to take off my foot plates and basically dismantle part of my chair to get into the lift to then go and get like supervisions and stuff upstairs, which was a little bit annoying. But in the grand scheme of things, like people would then just come down and I'd be supervised in different places, but it did mean that I didn't use the library a whole lot or things like that because it was just a bit of a faff. But the law faculty, it was pretty good.
Go law, shout out to
like
the law faculty.
I know it hurts that I can't say this all about psychology, but the law faculty was pretty good. Like automatic doors, more modern building, there'd be spaces in the library. Like in revision time, a term at Cambridge, the libraries are pretty rammed.
It's like, you know, when you go to the beach on a summer's day and you have to get there early, like put your towel down and like reserve that like lounger for the day. It's like that part of the library.
It's
like
a bit mad.
Any time of day there'll be people there.
Any time of day, even like 2 a.m.
Yeah, people are crazy. I'm happily sleeping at that
It's
point,
really
but...
healthy here. The work ethic is.
Okay, here's the tea. I think it is. I just think some people, like, they are crazy. Or like some people are like night owls. Like, I'll see people that are literally in the library so late because they woke up really late. So that's my hot take. Anyway, you were saying, in the library, in exam season, it's packed.
So packed. And I'm not someone who likes to study at 2 a.m. I like my sleep from about 1. But yes, so then I'd go into the library, and then for some reason I noticed that there was this space that was always free. And it was like this one place. It was really nice, had a really nice view, really quiet and peaceful, natural light, like all of that. And for a few days in a row, I kept going back, and all the other places were taken apart from that one space. And then I realised, this place doesn't have a chair. This place is for a wheelchair user.
What?
And so that was quite nice. That made me be a bit like, oh, okay, they do actually think. So yeah, the law faculty was pretty good. I think there are places that are inaccessible around Cambridge where teaching happens, but I would just always reach out in advance just to double check, which is always a bit of a moral dilemma, because I'm like, I don't feel like I should. Yeah. I feel like you're offering me this class. You're not saying in writing, people are welcome to take this paper, but if you're in a wheelchair and have mobility needs, then hey, you can't come do this, because they wouldn't write that down because it sounds bad. But I do reach out because otherwise I just couldn't get messed around. I'd say the worst experience I had, and I'm trying to debate if I want to drop the faculty. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to try and preserve myself.
So what happened? What was the bad experience?
So this was second year, beginning of second year. And I reached out to the department and I just said, I can see we've got lectures. They were 9 a.m.s on a Monday, 2 hours.
Ouch.
Bit painful. And I said, is the lecture venue accessible? They wrote back and said no, but you can watch the live stream that the COVID students, the people who have COVID and can't attend the lectures, you can just watch that. And I was like, no, thank you. They did say that they were going to try and make it accessible to me, but I felt like that was them implying they were going to do me a bit of a favour. And I was like, I shouldn't have to be doing this. Like, I'm paying the money to come here. I've worked hard to come here. And this was for 9 a.m.s on a Monday, right? Like, I didn't really want to go to them ever at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Yeah. But I just thought, like, I need to make a point. So then I wrote a very long email, copied in their legal code of practice that they'd signed like a week before, which had a literal line that said like lecture venues need to be accessible to all students or something along those lines. Copied in the head of my degree, copied in the head of departments, the head of the DRC, which is the Disability Resource Centre that handle disability related matters at the uni. And then we got the lecture venue changed. But that did mean that I had to go to Monday 9 a.m.s. I felt a proper obligation because I'm like, I've changed the whole venue. I actually need to go to these now.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was probably one of the more challenging accessibility things I've had in Cambridge, because in general, most things can be moved to more accessible places. But yeah.
That is, I mean, that is definitely annoying that, I'm just angry, I can't even like express what I was going to say. It is annoying that they felt like they were doing you a favour when they changed the room. Like, that's literally what you deserve.
See, this is why we're friends.
No, literally. But I'm glad you got it sorted out. I remember hearing about this at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I ask about this specific thing, or am I literally just going to be like shaking with anger? Good for you, and that is good motivation to get to 9 a.m. So I'm not going to lie, 9 a.m. on a Monday.
9 a.m. on a Monday. See, that's my dedication to accessibility right there.
Wow. Okay, my next question was going to be, have you had any troubles and was the uni helpful? Beyond that, do you think there's any times that you've reached out for help? Anything to do with like disability or accessibility? And has the help you've received either from the college or the faculty or anything to do with the university, has it been good?
So if you go right back to the beginning, when you apply to Cambridge and you indicate in your UCAS that you have a disability, then once they make you an offer, and I think this is true of most unis or all unis, so once they make you an offer, even when you haven't like got your grades and had that offer confirmed or accepted or whatever the terminology is, it was so far away, I can't remember. But then you get allocated somebody from the Disability Resource Centre to like oversee your disability-related, accessibility-related needs, kind of like a point of call for liaising between like your personal tutor who handles more like pastoral or lifestyle problems that you might have over your time here, and your DOS, your Director of Studies, the more academic side of things. So I had a meeting after my offer was made with someone at the DRC who remained my point of contact throughout the whole time.
Nice.
And we made something called an SSD, which is a student support document. Yes, there we go. And that just summarises the needs that you have. So then it's sent out to like people who will teach you or who will interact with you over your journey as a student at Cambridge. So I think that helped quite a lot. But it was, so if I ever had an accessibility problem, I would always copy in the people at the DRC and sometimes even the boss at the DRC, like with the incident that I just described, because, you know, we don't always have time to wait for these issues to be resolved. So I just wanted to go right to the top with that one. But I think that helped a lot of the time. But I did feel like I educated a few people on accessibility needs. Like, the reason I'm back in Cambridge now is because there was a dinner that you get invited back for, because once you're in, they never let you go. You're always roped in forever.
Oh.
But even before that, like, my tutor was emailing me and just saying, I just wanted to check that you're okay with how the access has been set up. Is there anything I can do to help? And things like that. And it's really nice when you feel like other people are being proactive too, and they actually understand the kinds of questions that I would need to ask, because they've dealt with me bugging people about it for the last 3 years. So I think that that's been a very positive thing that's developed over time, I think, as people learned more about me. Because I should have said at the beginning, massive disclaimer, everything I'm saying is from my perspective, and I have a physical disability. I don't have any other disabilities, visible or invisible, so everybody's experience is very specific and different. And I know people who've had some shocking experiences and some people who've had some great ones, and I'm just kind of in the middle, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I think I actually wanted to add what you were saying about the SSD, because this actually applies to students with any type of disability. So I have one as well. I got diagnosed with ADHD in November 2022. And I was like, when I first got described as a disabled student, I was kind of like, I'm not disabled. Like, I thought, I'm completely mobile, and I didn't really think beyond that. But ADHD is counted as a learning disability. So I have an SSD as well. It just explains kind of the needs I have for a classroom, which is very specific. So I get audiovisual distractions. So this means that if I'm speaking to you and there's music in the background, it's very, very difficult for me to concentrate on what you're saying, because it's like, it's not just like music. It's like there's one person speaking in this ear and one person speaking in the other ear. And so all my teachers know, like, before I enter the classroom, that not that they'd have any music on in the background, but we would have like non-tick clocks, or taking my exams in a low distraction environment. And yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, that no matter kind of what your disability, if it's a learning disability, physical disability, you will have an SSD, so a student support document, put in place. And for me, at least, it means I don't have to explain myself as much sometimes. So like, I had to email one of my teachers earlier on in this year, and I was actually, I don't know why, I was kind of embarrassed to ask for something. I was embarrassed to say kind of like, hey, this clock that you've got in your classroom is actually really distracting me, because it feels so silly and small. It's like, how is this little tick, tick, tick? Like, other people don't even notice it, and I'm literally sitting there like twitching in class, like, oh, I can't understand, like, I can't concentrate what she's saying. But having this document meant that when I emailed my teacher, I just said, dear teacher, the ticking clock has actually been really distracting me in class. I found it very, very difficult to engage just because of that. And then I attached the document, and then she said, yep, oh, cool, completely fine. And ever since then, she's just, every time before the class, she takes the clock, she puts it outside, and then she comes in, and it didn't have to be a big scene. It didn't have to be her saying in front of everyone, like, oh, Andrew asked me to do this, or me asking in front of everyone. I just had a document that was like, this is Andrew's needs, please respect them. And then, I mean, I had a good experience with that. And I know it's very different, but I thought I'd just clarify that point.
And also what you were saying about your exam arrangements briefly, that's also something that I had, not the same sort of adjustments as you, but I had extra time, rest breaks, my own room, and like one-to-one invigilation if I was in an in-person exam. Because I was the COVID year, so I think I may be one of the last people to have open book exams that last like 8 hours in your room. It's really fun here, guys.
That was just a little touch on the COVID exams. That was a whole struggle. I feel like I should be positive about the university, and I am in like 99% of things they say. But yeah, just for a bit of context, as a transition from COVID back to normality, they had some like open book exams, which you would think, that sounds so easy. It's not easy, because it's like essay papers, and you have maybe 8 hours to write 3 like pretty long essays, which personally, I think they're changing it now. I mean, they only start for MML. I did not like that at all, because it meant that there was no kind of like determined, like there was no moment of like the exam starts and the exam ends.
Yeah.
It's like a weird hybrid of coursework and exams, which I really did not gel with. Luckily, the university has taken the feedback on board, and they're changing that, because I did not enjoy that exam format. But yeah, so luckily that's not a thing anymore. Yeah. Because that was a struggle.
It was intense.
But I'm glad that you got your arrangements for it anyway.
Yeah. No, that was, well, if it's something you need, then you have to ask for it, and then it can get approved. And I think the sooner you put those things in place, the better, because once term starts, your prioritization gets a bit messed up. So I think if you know that you are entitled to these adjustments, or you feel that you should be, or you want to have a discussion about it, I'd say do that as quickly as possible just to get it off your to-do list.
I